So, what happens when an entire kingdom is forbidden from grieving? Today, we're diving into this really powerful story about a father's desperate command to forget and the one daughter who was brave enough, or maybe just stubborn enough, to remember.
All right, so picture this: a desert kingdom, endless drifting sands, and a family just shattered by loss. But this story, it's about more than just sadness. It's about what happens when someone tries to outlaw pain, and how that can actually create an even deeper wound. And it's about how one girl's courage, well, it just might be enough to heal everyone.
Okay, so the heart of our story is this young woman known to everyone as Nadia the Willful. And that word willful, it's everything. It means stubborn, doing things your own way no matter what. In a place that values obedience, that's not a good thing. But as we're about to see, for Nadia, that stubborn streak is going to become her greatest strength.
All right, let's set the scene. Before this heavy, profound silence fell over their home, you have to understand there was life, there was laughter, and right at the center of it all was this one family.
So you've got the father, Sheikh Tariq, a really kind leader. Then there's his daughter, Nadia. Yep, the one known for her stubbornness and quick temper. And then there was Hamed, the older brother. He was the glue, He was the bridge between his dad's gentle authority and his sister's fiery spirit. In fact, he was the only one who could ever calm Nadia down and turn her anger into laughter.
And then, the unthinkable happens. Hamid rides out into the desert, and he just doesn't come back. He's lost to what the story calls the drifting sands. They search and search but find nothing, and the family is left with this hollow, devastating certainty. Hamid is gone, forever. And with that certainty comes this tidal wave of grief. It's not just a feeling, it's a presence. It's this huge sadness that completely consumes them, pushing both Nadia and her father into their own separate worlds of silence and pain.
Now this is where things get really interesting and, honestly, pretty dangerous. The father, Tariq, is just drowning in his sorrow, and he comes up with this idea. He thinks, what if I can command grief itself? He starts to believe that if he can just erase the source of the pain, maybe the pain itself will just disappear.
So after 7 days of complete silence, Tariq makes this absolutely chilling announcement. He forbids anyone, and I mean anyone, from even speaking his son's name. It's his desperate attempt to build a fortress of silence around his broken heart. And this wasn't an empty threat. The punishment for breaking this rule was to be banished. That means you're sent away, cast out into the desert to fend for yourself. It's basically a death sentence. So you can imagine, this cloud of fear just descends over the whole community. And Nadia, she really tries to obey her father. But every time a memory of Hamed pops into her head and she has to push it back down, every story she holds back, it just makes her feel worse. The silence isn't healing her, it's just making her more and more lonely.
Okay, so this brings us to the turning point, the moment where Nadia's so-called willfulness becomes her greatest asset. Because she can't hold it in anymore. The grief, the memories, it's all about to come spilling out.
It all happens in a flash. She sees her brothers playing a game, but they're doing it wrong. A game Hamed taught them. And before she can stop herself, the words are out. "That's not the way," Hamed said. And just like that, the dam of silence breaks. She speaks his name. And in that moment, instead of fear, what she feels is relief, a huge, surprising wave of it.
That one little act of speaking his name starts to heal her. And it's like a spark. It's contagious. She starts telling stories to her brothers, then to the women who weave, then to the shepherds out with their flocks. And yeah, at first they're scared, but soon that fear gives way to the comfort of remembering, and they start to share their own stories too.
And this sets up the two paths of grieving perfectly, doesn't it? On one hand, you have Tariq's way, silence. And what did that get him? A fading memory and just bitterness. But on the other hand, you have Nadia's way, speaking. And that led to a clearer memory and finally, a little bit of peace.
So you know this has to be leading somewhere, right? This brings us to the inevitable climax, where Nadia's quiet rebellion of remembrance is about to smash right into her father's wall of silence.
It happens when a young shepherd, who's been listening to Nadia's stories, accidentally says Hamed's name out loud, right in front of the sheik. Tariq's reaction is immediate and brutal. He banishes the boy. And just like that, the fear crashes back down and everyone goes silent again.
But Nadia, she's tasted that peace, that healing, and seeing it all get destroyed by fear, no way. She's not having it. She decides enough is enough. She marches right up to her father to confront him, and that famous willful nature is on full display.
But something's changed. It's not just anger anymore. Her willfulness has sharpened into wisdom. So instead of yelling, instead of just lashing out, she asks him this simple, quiet question. A question that slices right through all his anger and hits him right where he's hurting most.
And here's the absolute tragedy of it all. Tarek breaks down and confesses. He admits that in trying so hard to forget the pain, he's actually forgotten his son's face. He can't hear his voice anymore. The memory is gone. The only thing left is the pain.
So what does Nadia do? She sits down with her father, and she starts to talk. She tells him all the stories she remembers about Hamed, and as she speaks, you can almost see the memories painting a picture of his son back into his mind. She shows him that the memory isn't the enemy, it's the only way through the pain.
And that moment of connection, it changes everything. Not just for Tarek, but for the entire community. He finally gets it. He finally sees that what he called willfulness was actually wisdom.
So he cancels his old, cruel decree, and he issues a new one. He declares that from now on, his daughter won't be known as Nadia the Willful. She will be known as Nadia the Wise.
So what does this all teach us? Well, a few big things, right? That trying to bottle up grief just makes it hurt more. That our memories, even the sad ones, are actually what keep our loved ones alive inside us. And that healing, it's not something you do alone. It's something you do together by speaking the truth.
Which kind of leaves us with this final big question to think about. Nadia's story is a powerful reminder that maybe our memories aren't wounds we need to hide. Maybe, just maybe, they're stories that are waiting to be told. Stories that have the incredible power to heal.